Through the ups and downs, we stand tall in this journey of growth. Day by day, through the ups and downs, we stand tall in.
Good morning.
Good morning, Juliet. I'm going to talk a bit quieter.
And I'm going
No,
to talk a bit
no.
louder.
Maybe if I try and get it in the middle. Does it sound loud to you? Anyway,
It sounds
here we
great.
are.
It sounded great yesterday.
Yes.
So we want to talk about addiction off the back of our conversation yesterday about your journey to sobriety. I want to talk about addiction and what it means.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone's got very different views, haven't they? And probably based on whether they use a substance but don't want to be considered an addict, and whether they have been an addict, and whether they are acknowledge that they're an addict, and then for someone who works with addicts.
Yeah, and also I think there's a stigma around saying that you're addicted to something, because people don't like to admit that they're addicted to, that people who like to say they're addicted to exercise, say, but they won't want to say that they're addicted to alcohol or drugs or anything, and like I don't know if you want to say about the definition of addiction.
I think that would be a good topic of discussion. What is addiction?
So from the definition is any behaviour, well, not from me, obviously, from Gabor Mate, any behaviour that a person finds temporary pleasure or relief in and craves but suffers negative consequences from in the long term, and yet has difficulty giving up despite these consequences.
Which I think we both totally agree with, don't we?
Yeah,
but potentially differs to a more traditional definition of addiction, which there's three here, but physiological or psychological dependence on a substance. The second one says an instance of this, which doesn't make much sense, and the condition of being habitually occupied with or involved in something.
So there are different sort of classifications.
They're a lot simpler
then. Yeah.
And so what's the image of an addict?
I think the classic image, isn't it, is like, say, a heroin addict or something.
Yeah.
I think from growing up, it'd be like
Train spotting.
And train spotting, or the glue sniffers. Used to have the glue sniffers around when I was a kid. Be like, don't look at them. They'd all be up the woods where I lived near the woods, and we'd go walking in the woods. Oh, they're addicts, look, glue sniffers. And they'd be there with the paper bags and their helmets on. I always remember them as a child.
Or alcoholics.
Past them.
Getting up first thing in the morning, drinking, not drinking all day, not being able to function. And that's the difference probably then, isn't it?
Yes.
That our image of an addict is someone who can't function, someone who spends their entire day indulging in the substance that they use or the behaviour that they do without being able to do anything else all day. And so you could pick them out in a lineup because they're the one doing the thing.
Yeah.
Rather than the person who's in a suit, going off to work every day, arriving at work early, functioning throughout the day, leaving work, and then coming home.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a really good there's a box set that I watched a little while ago on called The Industry, and it gives a very good insight actually into addiction in the city, and some quite harsh realities really on things that I've definitely witnessed, and addictions within functioning people in really high pressured jobs that are earning mega money, and it's all based on reality. Even though it sort of, glamorizes it to an extent, I think it's definitely based on reality.
Yeah, and then the biggest problem with this is that the people who are behaving in that way, who are highly functioning, don't view themselves as addicts because they also have the picture of what, this kind of picture that we've just described of what an addict is in their mind.
But also, are they technically doing themselves any harm? As an example, your supermodels, I won't name them because I don't know if it's actually necessarily true, but say your supermodels going out all night partying, getting on cocaine, say, but then they don't have to get up and go to work until 7 o'clock the next night. So although they may be an addict, they're functioning because they're you know, they're actually still being able to fulfill their roles in their jobs, and they're not losing anything. So under the term of an addict, what are they actually, you know, is it having negative consequences? It's not having immediate negative consequences, but maybe long-term ones then.
I would say that's placing too much importance on functioning in a job.
Yeah.
I would imagine anyone who's living like that is having negative consequences, whether they are open to admitting
or avoiding
it or not.
Or avoiding things, definitely.
Yeah. And so then elaborating on that definition, it's what is the behavior bringing them that they can't get in a healthier way, because it's not health, regardless of whether it's causing them a problem. It's not it's damaging their bodies.
I think that for me, it was a case of I gave up drinking, and then I made my mind up that that was it. I'd had enough, and I then had all of the reasons why I drank hit me all at once. So it was really, really difficult for me. And I think had I been in a worse mindset, or something bad maybe had happened, or, you know, like say you had to deal with something really difficult, I think I would have started drinking again. And if I didn't have access to therapy either, because I did a lot of therapy that first year. And I had
Did you ever have group
a
therapy?
friend. Never had group therapy. It didn't appeal to me in the slightest. No, I didn't like the setup of the AA stuff. Although I did read about it. I read Russell Brand's. Well, I'll tell you what, Russell Brand's book was good.
Recovery.
That's it. Yeah, I did read that, but I don't agree with the 12-step stuff. I think that's too much emphasis on the person being at fault rather than dealing with possibly external factors. I don't think it goes too deep enough into other things. That's my personal opinion on it. Not to say that it's not good for other people.
Okay, his is pretty much the 12-step program, isn't it?
Yeah, he's all about that.
Which my opinion is probably, as a support group, anything is better than nothing. Do you think that addiction brings something? So we've talked about covering up things, but what I've been finding when I've been working with people and trying to help them stop addictions is that it's bringing them something. Taking the most basic example, is smoking. And I mean, that isn't actually the most basic example. Maybe one of, I don't know, maybe one of the lesser harmful addictions. I'm not sure. It's
more common, isn't it? And people don't see it as it's acceptable in society, isn't it? So you can walk down the street, people don't, or it used to be. It's not so much now, is it?
Yeah, it's acceptable. But what I found working with smoking is a lot of people smoke because they're getting something else from the smoking, whether that's a break in work, 5-minute break in work, socializing. I mean, I worked with someone the other day who suddenly was concerned that they were not going to be able to hang out with the people that they, you know, their breaks at work, including their lunch break, was sitting in the smoking shelter.
Yeah.
How
and
do
also,
they suddenly...
and I think as well, when I stopped smoking, that was the thing. I got a lot of jobs from chatting to people in the smoking area, like making conversations with people, and I moved around companies by that.
Yeah, but you weren't getting it from smoking. It's not because you were smoking.
But it was
because
from
you were talking to those
it was from
people.
the socializing, so you can see the mentality behind people believing that. So it's because you're socializing. But I did still go out with people when they were smoking, because I wanted to get away from my desk.
Exactly that. And I think that's the key thing, realizing that when you stop doing the behavior that's causing the harm, you don't have to stop doing the things that come with it. My belief is that when people are addicted, they're getting something from doing that behavior. And I appreciate what you were saying about it covering up, like using it as a soothing tool, if you like, or a shutting down, but blacking out, whatever it is. But I think additionally, there's something that's the secondary gain, the benefit from doing that thing, like a smoker who's getting 5 minutes away from their desk and socializing at the same time. you know, this person that I worked with who was spending their entire lunch break in the smoking shelter with their friends, didn't know how they were going to spend time with their friends at work if and when they stopped smoking. Making that person aware that they can still hang out in the smoking shelter, whether you would want to as a non-smoker hang out amongst a load of smokers, really. But the smell, you know, all of that, not so much the draw to smoke, but the smell of it. But realizing that it's still okay to take 5 minutes away from your desk. And I've worked with people who the same, who've struggled socially. So almost the opposite problem, struggled socially, but felt that they needed to go and socialize, perhaps with work. And so they would smoke, taking 5 minutes away from the social situation, you know, and they've been overstimulated. Smoking gives them 5 minutes away from people.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so is there anything that you feel like you've been addicted to in the past, or I know that you're not used as unhealthy coping techniques or things as I have, but is there other things that you can think of that would be considered an addiction from your point of view?
Yesterday you asked me this and I said I think I'm addicted to my routine. I have certainly
I didn't want to ask you any further because I wanted you to answer it on here.
Yeah, well, I've certainly had to do things like crisps, for example. I've put myself on a crisp ban for a year before.
For a year though, that's because you always go long on your stuff. Like if I would do a 30 days and think I was a saint, but whenever like I hear you always put a long time frame in. Is there a reason for that?
Well, it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be forever.
Okay.
But then I think probably something happened like Christmas or a party or something like that. But I wouldn't call that an addiction because I didn't eat crisps at home. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're talking about being able to stop eating crisps, but
yeah, I know, but it's still relevant, isn't it? If it's
like that Pringles once a popper can't
crisps,
stop.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's like heroin.
Yeah,
Pringles, heroin. I mean, it's all the same.
Pack of crisps one day, next day I'm shooting up in the public toilets. But I wouldn't call it an addiction. I was not eating crisps at home. I was not buying crisps. It's just when I went to people's houses and they put out
like
crisps.
When I was drinking alcohol. Definitely.
Everyone bought it for me. I couldn't say no. However, I do struggle with some rigidity in my life with regards to my routine. And
so what you prefer, the rigidity, it's easy for you to say, or you prefer the routine, or
yeah, I feel uncomfortable when I'm taken out of it.
And what would be taken out of it when you go on holiday?
Oh no. As simple as a friend saying, you know, last week one of my closest friends who I love very much said, let's have a FaceTime call on Monday or whatever it was. And that FaceTime call meant that things weren't happening in my day. That was a spontaneous thing that meant things weren't going to happen as they normally do. It was going to take, I didn't know how long it was going to be for. It was going to take time out of my plans. That was difficult. I told her, you know, this is really uncomfortable for me. Now we do know that I have this monotropic cognitive style, which might play into that.
Yeah, so which is I definitely think so, because I'd welcome if somebody phones, but then I like to get distracted. So if somebody phones me, I'm like, oh, FaceTime, yay! I don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think of it as like if a friend unannounced and FaceTimes, because I did it to you by mistake, didn't I? The other day I video called you. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to put you off. But
I was having a panic attack. Sorry, we shouldn't make light of panic attacks. There wasn't really
an unannounced call. Send a raven. But so I welcome distraction when people call me, but So you would say that was that you're addicted to the rigidity of your routine, and if you're not out of it, so on a daily basis, then do you have to do certain things, like as in, do you have to, by 9 o'clock you have to have done this, or you're a failure? Is that how you feel, or is it a feeling, or is it?
I think there's an expectations thing. So I think processing a change in expectations is difficult. So if I have an expectation of doing something, it can take me a long while to change that. And so it's all right maybe if I've had a week, if someone's booked this thing in a week in advance and I've processed the change, that's easier. So coming down to the real depths of it, I don't think it's an addiction to routine. I think it's something else, but it could feel like an addiction to routine. It's a processing, it's a change in expectations. I've got slow processing as well.
Yes. Do you want to explain that as well?
Yeah, a little bit, if you like. So I had this autism assessment, and they concluded that I have broader autism phenotype, which is not a diagnosis. It's just certain characteristics. It's for people who don't quite meet the criteria for an autistic diagnosis, but do have a lot of the characteristics. But I also have monotropic cognitive attention style, which is very interesting. And so I wouldn't come across as someone who's got slow processing, I don't imagine, other than
Definitely
the fact
not.
I'm always the last person to get the joke.
Are you? See, that's my perception. I wouldn't see. I don't feel like I have to explain. Maybe my jokes are so simple that they don't require any explanation. That's probably more the point.
Well, yours is more sarcasm. I'm talking like knock joke.
Yeah, sometimes I don't get things like that. Yeah. So yeah. So
And
it takes you a
so
long
the
time
slow
to process.
processing. Well, it's really fascinating that if you think about I hate the word neurotypical. It makes it sound like it's the prototype, the perfect robotic human, and if we don't all meet that, then there's something wrong. I think we've all just got different characteristics, and
Yeah, I think the same.
unfortunately, society is only set up for the people with what is now called neurotypical characteristics. And so anyone who doesn't have those, like who's out foraging to bring the food back to the tribe, who's out building the shelter, who's building the fire, it's not happening. So all of those people who are good at that.
The neurotypical, in inverted commas, people could be masking it anyway, like I used to do at school, to get to get through certain things that I wasn't particularly good at, because it was for like what is classed as neurotypical.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got a diagnosis, but I definitely don't think that there's I didn't fit into all of the criteria.
Yeah, there's a good two definitions I learned the other day. So masking is when we hide neurodiverse traits to try and appear normal, typical. And camouflaging is when you change who you are to try and fit in.
Oh, camouflaging then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the neurotypical person, if we're going to use that term, has, well, we've all got maybe like 10 blocks of attention that we can put to different things at the same time. Someone who's got monotropic cognitive style actually uses perhaps uses the majority of those attention blocks on the one thing they're doing. So when something else takes their attention, it's very difficult. Whereas the neurotypical person has got maybe one block on their personal needs, like whether they need to use the loo, whether they're thirsty, another block on what's going on over in the other room, another block what's going on there, and then there'll just be a few blocks on the thing they're doing. Whereas the monotropic person has got almost all their blocks on the thing they're doing, and so less awareness. I don't know, I keep thinking of it like tunnel vision, but I'm not even sure if that's the right term, but really focused on the thing you're doing. And so I think it's something to do with that. And I have all of this focus on the thing and the plan and the expectation, and then if something pulls it away, I haven't got the attention for it.
So do you think that's more the reason than addiction then?
Yeah, I do, but it might play out like addiction. And it's is it harmful? That's the other question.
Does it feel harmful?
No, for me, the fear is what would happen if I didn't do these things.
Oh.
But do addicts fear what would happen if they didn't do their thing?
What if they didn't drink, or if they didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose it wasn't from personal experience rather than anything else. It wasn't the fear of not drinking. Like that didn't enter it. It was more. I realised afterwards the fear of feeling your feelings. More than, because you think you go to work, you have a stressful day, you have a glass of wine, something happens, I'll just get a bottle of wine on the way home, or but you didn't realise why you were doing it was to disassociate or try and forget what you were thinking about, really, rather than processing it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are in that situation, aren't they? And now what about phone addiction? So many people now are addicted to their phones, and that's another socially acceptable one. I mean, how socially acceptable is it to sit at a dinner table? You see friends sit out for dinner together, and
I did it,
scrolling their
didn't I?
phone.
On the weekend, I put a serviette over my phone because I could see it lighting up, and I was like, "Stop it! Why was it even out?"
Yeah, because it's socially acceptable. And I was out for a run yesterday, and I found myself, as I was nearing the end of the run and as it was becoming difficult. This is interesting, actually. I hadn't even considered this, but as it was becoming difficult, kind of my hand kept going to my little bum bag to take out my phone. Why am I going to get my phone out when I'm out running?
Yeah, because you'll fall over.
Well, this could happen, but I have been known to do this. I fall over. I have been known to check my WhatsApps, reply to WhatsApps while I'm out running. If it were listening to a voice message, that's different. I feel like a really good time to do it. But actually, I've actually typed WhatsApps while I'm running.
That's dangerous.
There you go. I am addicted to my phone.
Yeah. But then it's there. It's part of normal life, isn't it?
It's part of my arm.
Is it going to be like when the government used to give you cigarettes? They used to give you cigarettes, or to
they encouraged
the army,
it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but kids these days, they're getting addicted before their brains are even developed. At our generation. What age did you get a phone?
For me?
Yeah.
I was probably I was at work, so probably 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was 17.
But then you couldn't do a lot with your phone then, apart from make phone calls. You couldn't even text.
You couldn't do a lot. And
you didn't have internet until Sean was born, did you? On your phone?
Yeah.
Didn't have internet.
Yeah. So if you think that the human brain develops
really
around 25 to 30.
We didn't have internet in those days.
We didn't. I mean, it wasn't a thing.
We sent
when
a
we were born.
raven.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
Yeah, we were out playing in the woods, getting dirty.
Well, as all children should. It's true though, isn't it? That this is people are actually addicted to their phones. I think I'm addicted to my computer.
Yeah, I listen. Like I can't go to sleep in pure silence, so I listen to things, like not just meditation. I listen to podcasts and things when I go to sleep. So my phone's even in the bedroom, which isn't ideal.
Yeah.
Not something I recommend. I know you don't keep your phone in your bedroom, do you?
No, we try to have a no screens in the bedroom rule. Yeah. Isn't that a thing as well? Rules. How do rules fit in, do you reckon? Because I have a lot of rules for myself. Are they boundaries? Are they boundaries that I've written for myself?
I feel like I should have more. Love that word. I could. Yeah, but I don't have a TV in my bedroom though. I don't really. But then I'll sit there. I'll get my laptop in and think, oh, I'm sitting with my laptop in my bed sometimes if I feel like, I should do some more. Could do some more work. I need to work on that.
But then, what are we without all these things? If you take away all the things that could be negative, the TV, the phone, the narcotics, what are we? What do we do? We read a book, but even when
Take my
books,
dog out. I
yeah,
take my dog out, and I don't take. Do you know what? I actively don't take my phone out, and something bad always happens if I don't take my phone out. Like Frank will run into a sea defence or something on the beach and hurt himself, and then I've got to think 4:30 in the morning, how am I going to carry a 55-kilogram German Shepherd home? But luckily, he was just being dramatic,
I think it's
and it didn't hurt
safer
him.
to take your phone out.
Yeah, I know, but I forget it sometimes because it's so early. It's somewhere like on the side of on the floor or something, and I'm just like, oh, getting ready to take him out, and I do forget my phone. And it's nice. I like being disconnected. I like being out without a phone. It's nice.
It's liberating, isn't it? I have my
Mm.
phone one day a week. I turn my phone off, except it's not happening at the moment because things are preventing it. But when I first started that, it was so liberating.
Is it liberating, or do you because you're saying it like it's rules and things like that? Are you punishing yourself?
No. Well, I don't know. Am I?
No, I just wondered, are you?
No, I
Like,
don't think
because
so.
are you feeling that you should definitely not, or your phone, no phones in the bedroom?
No, do you know what it is? It's not punishing myself at all, actually. It's the fear of it's a lack of control in a way. It's like you with your alcohol. You can't just have one. So I can't take the phone into the bedroom and just look at it for 5 minutes. So I have to have no phone in the bedroom. I can't have my phone on throughout the day and not end up with 3.5 hours screen time at the end of the day. So
Yeah, see, I don't even look at that. I dread to think. But then it adds up all of things, like if I have a podcast on and like sending me to sleep, then it'll add that up.
yeah, it will.
But
Yeah,
if I don't look at it.
you can look at it. It does also break it down. But
Oh,
no.
does it? Oh, I don't look at my stats that much.
But you don't need to if it's not a problem. But the point is, I can't. Some people, and maybe you're like this, can have their phone on the whole day and not even look at it. It can just be there on the side, and they might look at
But
it at
I
the end
do
of the day.
work blocks because I can't sit there for a whole day doing things. So I have to set myself sort of, and also I take Frank out every 4 hours. So I stick to that rigidly. So I'll take him out, come back, set a block of work for say 2 hours, and I'll go on do not disturb, and I don't look at anything else. I've got of exactly what I need to do. But if I didn't do that, and sometimes I don't, then it's just like la la, oh look, there's a squirrel, it's a shiny object, and then I get nothing done.
Yeah.
So that's why I have to be strict with the phone, because if I haven't actually put my phone on do not disturb, and I can see I've got a message already, and I've only got 4%. So
all
I didn't
these
put it on do not
things
disturb.
are addictive. I don't get addicted, or maybe I am addicted, but I refrain from it being too harmful by having rules. I think it would be interesting to explore whether those rules are boundaries, because if you think about boundaries.
Is it something you feel you need to recover from?
No.
So is addiction something you need to recover from? And therefore it is more a boundary?
No, I think you're using the addiction to recover from the thing that you're using the addiction to hide. Have we coined a theory there? Recovery is not about recovering from the addiction. Recovery is about recovering yourself. Or is that what everyone's saying and I've only just got it?
No, that's... But I think that is true. But you don't this is the thing I think people don't realise with addiction is what it is hiding that you need to recover from. Or that you need it's a signal as to something else.
Yeah.
The deeper rooted, it's definitely a signal. But then now I look at alcohol from a perspective of I think it's been put into the public domain for use of evil, to dumb down people.
Like sedate people.
Yeah. and I look at people now, like drunk, really drunk people, particularly in, you know, your Weatherspoon type pubs, and this is no, like, but I wouldn't go, you know, it's okay in the wine bars, but I wouldn't go into one. I could not think of anything worse than being around
where it's
a
cheap,
load of really, yeah.
or you know,
Yeah.
more people can afford it than not.
Mm. Well, I don't know what habits then do you think that have been good that you've perhaps redirected people to? Do you redirect?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that firstly, trying to find that secondary gain is so important. Really trying to find what you're getting. I think a lot in addiction, there's a big focus on the harm it's doing and the problems it's bringing, and why you should stop that thing because of all of these negatives that it's associated with. But there's not so much focus on what it was actually bringing you, and um, and how you can get that thing. So certain things like I might suggest to a smoker, I don't like to focus on smoking because I actually don't like working with people, with smokers so much. I like it more since I've been going down this new route, which is less typical hypnotherapy quit smoking program, and more kind of focusing on it as a real addiction as strong as any other addiction. And then I find it more interesting, but it's just an easy thing to talk about, really, because so often the things that people are getting out of it are the same, whereas you take some of the other addictions and it's so vastly different between people. But with smoking, I might suggest that first of all that they still take 5 or 10 minutes out every hour, or at the regularity that they would have done, and that can be with the people that they hung out with before. It can be with different people. One person mentioned to me recently that they had a friend who was also wanting to stop, so I suggested that they actually actively seek out going for a walk with that person at regular intervals, so that they both
Like an
help each other.
accountability partner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also because
Somebody that's on the same journey as you at the same time.
yeah,
That's really good.
I think that less so for that reason, actually. I think more because they were both kind of assuming that because neither of them were smokers anymore, they wouldn't be hanging out together.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So just realizing that, yeah, you can still hang out with this person, you just do it in a different way. I've recommended 5-minute workouts of, just grabbing off YouTube a 5-minute workout, or making your own, whether it's like 20 push-ups or something like that people can do at their desk. If they're working from home, they can get off their chair and do that. A client the other day said that they reckon they'd set themselves up for failure. Well, in fact, the first step was to take down their smoking shelter that they were using in their garden. So after our first session, they went home and smashed up this smoking shelter. Yeah. And so that was quite cathartic in a sense. And we'd also had quite a frank conversation about their child, and how their child perceived the habit, and their child decided to smash it up with them. So that was really like a physical demonstration of how they were feeling. But then going on from that, initially this person was saying, I'm going to join the gym, so the money I'm saving I can use for a gym membership, and I can do this, I can do that. And then kind of somewhere in between our first and second session, they realized that actually they don't want to go to the gym. They actually don't want to go to the gym. They don't enjoy going to the gym. Why are they going to go to the gym? And this person walks their dogs every day. Like, then it's not that they're unfit. It's just that every time they'd quit smoking, they decided that they were also going to become this super fit, super healthy, kind of really inspirational person. And it's acknowledging that the smoking, like stopping smoking, doesn't have to fundamentally change who they are. And so if they don't want to join a gym, they don't need to join a gym. Stopping smoking isn't about flipping their entire life. It's about being the same person as they are without the cigarette in their hand. So instead of joining the gym, they would go outside and chain smoke a few cigarettes, primarily so that they could spend longer scrolling their phone, because smoking cigarettes was the excuse they needed to be on a break scrolling the phone. And so they decided to slob on the sofa and scroll their phone instead, which might not be, we could then go, well, what's going on there with the phone addiction? But that's for another day.
Yeah, that's true. Or it's what are you truly escaping, trying to escape in the first place?
Well, yeah, and with the phone as well. But that, I think, sometimes it's just about working out a way to stop the thing, because only when you stop the thing can you start exploring what the real problems are.
Yeah.
There's definitely, I worked with someone else who was addicted to alcohol, and they were, drinking to blackout every day, home alone, really just to achieve the blackout. That's what they wanted. And the difficulty that this person was having was that they lived alone. Not that there was nothing else to do, but there does come a point in life where you can't just be permanently active. Sometimes you have got to just be. And they didn't. It was very difficult to just be when they were a single childless person. But bringing other things in, like target, they started running and having perhaps a challenge. So signing themselves up for a run, not a, I don't want to say race. They're not races. These things, are they? I mean, they are, but they're not. But doing that's something to work towards, so that there's purpose in every day. In conclusion, what do we think? Don't know what we think.
I think it's got a very wide net. And it's personal to the individual, I think, as to what the addiction, because, I could sit there saying, oh, I had this terrible alcohol addiction. It's awful. And then you could be feeling exactly the same about your rigidity to your schedule. And then I could dismiss it but alcohol's so much worse, because that's what, when it's not, because you feel exactly the same as I did about being addicted to alcohol.
I think you're absolutely right.
So I do think it's subjective.
And the key is, if that thing is bringing problems into your life, even if you can't see the problems. But
definitely,
there's definitely different stages of addiction recovery of the person, as we've got our new theory. Brewing.
Recovery of the person, definitely, because it's an ongoing process, but depending on, I suppose, on the depth of your addiction or the depth of your cause of your addiction.
Yeah. So one last question then before we sign off. Do you think an addict is always an addict?
I personally know that I can't have another drink. If I had one drink, I'd probably go off for the weekend somewhere. So I don't think I think it's always something that's maybe at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
If maybe it's dependent on how long you've had it. I don't know if there's been studies done into it, or if people are fully honest about it. But I know for a fact that I can't have one drink, and I won't have one drink.
Good. I think it's subjective.
But I do think it's different for each individual as to whether or not they, I know friends, and I know other people that are severe drug addicts functioning, and they relapse occasionally.
Yeah.
But they get straight back on it. But they do relapse, and it's a constant. They have to be very vigilant as to their surroundings.
And I know we spoke briefly about Russell Brand's book Recovery, and how you said that doesn't really fit in with you, and I can see why it wouldn't. I can also see why it would work for some people. But I think the key thing I've heard him say is that he has a daily routine that he has to adhere to every single day, that it's like breathing, followed by ice bath, followed by meditation, followed by this, followed by that. And only by doing those things, which to some extent is like me with my routine rigidity, only by being so rigid and sticking to those things and prioritizing them above everything else does he manage to abstain from using the substances he was using before.
Yeah. Whereas I don't think if I was stuck in a routine, it'd feel. I don't like that. I don't like
Yeah, but
the rigidity of a routine.
You do have things in place that keep you where you're at.
Yeah.
Okay, onwards and upwards. Let's speak tomorrow.
Yes, amazing. Thank you very much.
With friendship as our guide, together we'll grow, 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 grow. Grow together we'll grow, grow, grow.